Well, good afternoon, everyone. Darren Saw here, episode 168 of Playing with Perspective, the suspended animation podcast. Yes, we are getting up there. Today, I have a very, very special guest. Jaydon Bird from the Word of the Bird podcast is with me. How you doing, Jaydon?
Good, thank you, Darren. Thank you very much for having me on, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on as my guest. And Jaydon is a prolific podcaster. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He does all sorts of things, as well as being a student of law and philosophy at the University of New England. On his podcasts, Word of the Bird, he speaks to guests about their life experiences, shares some of his own, and delves into deep questions behind the ride we're all on. And today we're going to be chatting all about variety, I think, because Jaydon is really, he's living the dream. He's doing everything. He's got his fingers in every pie. And I'm kind of a bit like that myself because I love variety. And I think I get bored if I do one thing only. So I'd love to chat to you a bit more about, what are your thoughts on variety, etc. But let's take a step back and tell us how how did you get into your line of work? How did you get into acting, comedy, podcasting?
Great question. It's sort of, I've come from a background of variety, even in my younger days. I finished school and had all good intentions to go to university. I did quite well at school. I was lucky enough to be academically inclined, and so sort of pushed towards the direction of medicine. Me sort of going, I don't know what I want to do. Hey, and sort of going, well, then do the hard thing. Well, okay, that's great. So got to year 12 and went, don't want to do another 12 years of schooling. I got a trade. Did my trade out of school for a couple of years, an apprenticeship. Then I went to uni for 2 years. Went back on the tools for a bit and was sort of jumping between the two. And it wasn't until I went to uni that I sort of developed different personas, different characters from my own experiences in life, and so was able to equate that over to the comedy realm and sort of develop humor from there. And then, going back on the tools, I thought this is okay. It's all right being a tradie, but it never really spoke to me, mate. It wasn't fulfilling me on a soul level. It wasn't really nurturing me day to day. And so I went, well, I'm only getting older. I mean, yes, it's nice to still, branch myself out, but I thought, well, why not start in the things that I've always had an interest in, right? And acting was one of those things that, I loved seeing it on screen. I liked watching the actors, off screen as well, talking about their technique and getting into that space and really telling a story. It's very powerful. And so I went, oh, again, got to start somewhere, right? And yeah, it's been probably just under a year. It's been a little bit tricky because we're in lockdown. But just showing up, doing it where I can, learning it. It's a new craft and it's going to take time. And amongst that, to keep it interesting for myself as well, it is about sort of doing all the different things that interest me in that same way. And it might differ in intensity, as to say, well, if I had to pick between acting and going for a jog. I mean, I like jogging as well to an extent, right? But I'd go for the acting. It's just a bit more fulfilling and interesting to me, right? So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And so what have you done so far with your comedy and your acting?
Well, comedy. So I got my own YouTube as well, which is under the same little handle. It is Where the Bird. I sort of just operate under the same hat, and figure it's just easier that way. I'm not very good with the bureaucratics and the administration side, so I just go, let's leave it all under the one umbrella. But so I'm doing that. I constantly try to write comedy to apply to that sphere. I'm also looking to branch out. I mean, again, hard with lockdown, but I've got friends that are doing stand up as well, and I've seen them perform, and it's been something where I'm like, it's a different ball game in the sense of, doing a skit and filming something that's funny. You've got that chance to go back, watch and go, okay, let's change this. Let's sort of, you can edit and really, polish the final product. But with something like stand up, it is sort of, you're there, you can't sort of scrub back and go, let me try that joke again. It's like, you got to really sort of be in your toes, right? And so realizing that is a sort of step out of that comfort zone. But again, just realizing, well, it's all about the planning and the training of it, like anything, right? And so if I can plan these jokes out and sort of have that content there, it's going to give me a bit more comfort to be in that unknown space, because I'll have something to sort of lean back into, right? Sure. And that's where I'm at with stand up. And so the skits keep going as well, and then the acting itself, it's background in acting to start out with, which is still, it's time on set, right? And it's an absolutely amazing place to be.
Definitely. I think it'd be so much fun.
Oh, I love it. Hey, it's yeah, it's something about it. I know what the air is. Everyone's friendly, and it's all combining to do the one task. There's
Yeah.
something very beautiful about it. Yeah,
No,
almost tribal in a way, right? Like you're sort of it's like it's a beautiful thing.
absolutely. I used to do, I'm a photographer and I used to do a lot of work photographing for an American dance company, a
Yeah,
dance
right.
competition that used to go and travel the country. And we'd all have our certain roles. And it was the same. It was like everybody would just get together and we would execute that show to the best of our ability. And once it was done, we'd pack up all the gear and
Mm.
pat ourselves on the back and say, wow, that was fun. Like it was this camaraderie involved. It was a lot of
100%.
fun doing that kind of
Almost
stuff.
like a sport, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
Like,
it
hey,
is.
we're all here. We've got the same mission,
Team.
same goal. Let's band together and just have some laughs. And then, like you said, that final product too goes, wow, we all did this thing, you know?
It's a lot of
So,
fun.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Ah, that's great, man. And so tell us, I mean, obviously you do lots of different things. I'm always grappling with this myself, and I talk to people about this all the time. What are your thoughts on variety? Do you think variety is something that is effective and useful in life and work, or do we have to be careful not to spread ourselves too thin?
Hmm. I think variety can be. I think in general we're going to have some level of variety, right? In the ways that as humans we are kind of multifaceted, multi-layered beings. There's not just one side to any person that you meet. They've always got
True.
different stories going on, right? But I think the focus there would be more to bring balance to those things that you're doing, right? And so some
Yes.
people do find what they enjoy over anything early on, but sometimes those things, even though they can be enjoyable and they can even be constructive and stuff like that, can almost take over your life to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
age old adage of the businessman that doesn't see his family, or the guy that could have been somebody but he was too busy playing a video game, stuff like that. It's all about sort of,
yeah,
you can work towards these things, and life is about doing the things you enjoy, I suppose, because what else is there to do? But I think bringing balance in all those areas. But even, yeah, when you're talking about chasing your passion, it can be helpful, because I know myself, I don't wake up every day going, yes, like I'm going to film something today. It's most of the time, even with the podcast, right? I love podcasting, but I don't do it every single day, because
right.
that's a
Even that
grind.
would
And
be
so,
even that would be a grind. Absolutely.
exactly. And it could be beneficial, because there's people out there that go, well, yeah, then you're going to, be churning out content. It's like, well, but you got to enjoy it too, right? Because you don't want to take the love out of the labor. Then it
100%.
just, you'll end up staying back away from it for longer, which I've been through, right? Where I've just burned out, then step back for, a couple of months sometimes, right?
Definitely.
And then eventually come back to it because it entices you. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a question of balance, and that comes down to, yeah, the individual. You have to be the judge in your own life to say, well, do I want to be doing this thing? And is it going to derail everything else that I'm doing? What are the other things that I'm sort of, doing in life? Bringing that awareness to it is,
Yep.
yeah, the best way to do that.
So true. So true. I mean, I'd have to agree. I think everybody would have their own balance, their own ratio of
Mm,
what they think is right for them, when they want to mix this with that or this with something else. I think
100%.
it's up to you to find out what works for you and what overall balance makes you happy.
Mm,
And
mm.
if you've got the overall balance right to the point where you're happy, then that's it.
How do you find you go with like balancing stuff in life? Because I know sometimes I'll find that it is like a juggling act, right? You sort of like, oh, get the family and the job and the, podcast and the,
Yeah,
taking the bins out, paying the bills. Like,
yeah.
sometimes you're going to drop a couple of balls on the sideshow, right? But how do you find, is there some way that you, incorporate something into that act to make it flow a bit smoother?
Yeah, great question. I think, I'm very much a all or nothing type personality.
Mm,
So,
I
when
hear.
I'm doing something, I'm all in,
Yeah.
which can be good, but it can also be bad because then, I
That's
just
it.
go straight. I'm like what's the word? I'm like a tunnel vision,
Yeah, here.
laser
Yeah,
focus, and then I neglect everything else. So,
yeah.
and then I suppose self-awareness comes into it. Like I've really got to every now and again take a break and say, hold on, like, what am I doing here? Is this
Mm,
working? Have I got the right balance? Where should I maybe just, pull back a little bit and add something else? So I think it's really just about self-awareness, and you're always going to go into these cycles and ebbs and flows of where you
that's right.
dive into something and then you got to pull yourself back and maybe add something else to balance things out. But I think
Mhm.
the key is to really just be aware of yourself and what's happening around you to not overdo it, which is
Mm.
hard, when you got
Oh,
that type of
yeah.
personality.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, I hear you. That really resonates, that point. But I really like that idea of like the ebb and flow of it all, sort of too, right?
yeah,
Because
it
it
does.
is it is almost like the waves on the beach. Life is sort of, it's a dance. It's moving, and you sort of sometimes you just got to move with it. Otherwise, you're gonna swim an up current. But yeah,
Yeah, so true.
that's really nice picture.
So true. And also, I mean, even when we take lockdown, you know, now we have to try and make the best of what we have. So
Mm,
we're at home, fair enough. But what can we do? Can we do more podcasting, do more collaboration? Can we put more content together to get us
mm,
ready for when things come out of lockdown?
that's
So
right.
it's all about balancing the time you're in as well, because not
Mm,
always going to be like this. So it's a matter of understanding where you are and utilizing that time effectively,
mm.
and keeping an eye on the future at the same time.
And that's why, yeah, it comes back to that sort of, it is a juggling act,
Yeah,
you know
so
what I
it is a
mean? And
juggling
and
act.
uh,
Yeah,
but
so
but
true.
we're all, this is the beauty of it, and this is why, again, I love communicating, especially to people like you that really sort of at least align with it to the level that you can, talk about it in the way you do, right? It's to say that, yeah, we're all sort of experiencing life in this sort of way that can be tricky at times, but it's so beautiful at times as
Yep.
well. And so you can really empathize with people to say, hey, we're all having this same experience, right? And that's like where I
Yep.
get that ride metaphor from, to say,
Yeah.
well, we're all strapped in and we don't really know what we're queuing up for, right? You know what I mean? But we sort of go, all right, let's enjoy it and smile for the photo, and
That's
yeah,
so
see
true.
where it
So true.
takes us.
And everybody always asks me, so what do you like best? What do you like most? And I say, you know what? I like the variety. That's my
Yeah,
answer. I
catch
actually
me
like,
today, I'll say
yeah,
this. Catch me tomorrow, it might be this. It's
absolutely.
always, yeah, for
I don't want
sure.
to do the same thing every single day. If I can have a
Mm.
bit of variety and can find the balance, I'm happy.
Mm, I
That's
love
so
that.
true.
I
Yeah,
love
really
that. It
interesting.
comes down to the experience of the thing itself, right? Rather than saying, well, this pair of scissors is my favorite one. It's like, oh, well, I like to use them for this sort of thing. But some
Yeah,
days I
exactly.
might, use them for, it's sort of that. It's giving into that flow of nature to say, I'm going with you. I'm doing something.
Yep.
I'm gonna dance back with you. But we're this is a relationship now. This is something that's symbiotic, not just
So
I'm
true.
doing this for this.
So
Yeah.
true. So true. And so, what have you been focusing on in the lockdown period at the moment? Anything special?
Um, Again, ebb and flow, right? Mainly physical health. I've had
Oh,
this
good.
epiphany where I sort of, when I was trying out for American football this
Oh,
year, right?
wow.
Which sort of,
Really?
yeah, was get the first year ever, and I watched it on TV, and I went, you know what, not getting any younger. Let me give this a crack, and sort of getting the fitness and getting all
Yeah.
the gear and stuff like
Strength.
that,
Yeah.
and just before lockdown, so like, geez, man, like this is I'm really put myself in it, right? I'm like, oh, could be fitter, could be stronger, all these things, and then lockdown kicked in, so I look at it as kind of like a, hey, you've got an extra year now, right? And so
That's right.
yeah, trying to eat healthier, really bring more awareness emotionally and mentally to myself as well, to say,
Nice.
we've got this time inside now, we can sit with ourselves and learn ourselves more, right? And then we can learn what we like from learning who we are, you know what I mean? And really work with that in the same way that we spoke about working with life just before. And so yeah, it's a good time to step back, for me, for everything, mate, because I was very busy with work before lockdown went down as well.
Yeah.
I was bartending and doing kids entertainment, learning to do that as well, like kids
Oh, wow.
parties and stuff like that. Yeah, so the weekends were
Yeah.
just packed, and then a
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
days during the week I did the family thing, and so I was like, okay, this is this chapter of my life now, to step back from it. And when
Yeah.
we come out, like you said, we don't really know, right? But yeah, just trying to use this time as it feels natural to do so, but also bringing that awareness that I've developed to go, well, it could be good to do this thing. Let me do more of this thing, and use it to the best of my ability.
Ah,
Yeah.
excellent. And any other goals apart from American football? Any other future goals for when we get out of this that you're striving for?
Yeah. Look, I'm an idealist, mate. So again, my goals change like the wind as well. You know what I mean? Catch me
Oh,
yesterday, I'll say it's to get the Oscar. I got a little Oscar, if you can see it just there.
yeah, I
Just
can see it. There it is.
motivation
I
sometimes, right? And
love
other
it.
days, it's like, oh, I want to be like the fittest version of myself. Or like today I wake up and I sort of go, it's a bit more sort of in a settled space today, you know what I mean? So I go like, you know what, it's just nice to be able to
Chilled out.
have opportunities like this,
Yeah.
where we can sit back, because I watch a lot of other people's podcasts as well, and I was watching the who I think is the greatest of all time and carved the road for people, especially for myself, is Joe Rogan.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I know it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, right? And he was
yeah.
speaking of the fact that this format that we're doing right now is so new form. because if you go back 10 years ago, no one was having these conversations and putting them out into the sphere, right? It was
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
your news programs, your sitcoms, your acting and stuff. It's still in that role, but it never really showed like the humanness behind it, right? That was secluded to,
Yeah. It was more
groups of,
professional and polished.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
It
had an
was,
agenda.
yeah, exactly right, and segregated as well. I think from pop culture,
Yeah.
whereas as now it's like why I love Joe Rogan so much, right? It's because he was the one that sort of carved his way, and you do get people that like anything. It's like bandwagon, let's do it. But I sort of saw it as a way as like that. If I could pick something where my future looked like something, there's someone that I really admire what they're doing because they're
Nice.
expressing and they're connecting, and I think that's telling a story in itself, right? Which is what I love doing as well. So
Absolutely. That's actually a
yeah.
really good point. I mean, I don't know enough about the history of his podcast. When he started, do you know what he started, what he wanted to achieve, why he started podcasting?
See, I'm a not an obsessor. I wouldn't say an expert either, right? But I know what I know about him, and I know he started pretty much just for fun.
Oh,
He said
really?
he said he never expected to do it. Like he was just he's a comedian as well, and so he had a lot of comedian friends
Because he
that
was
he
an
would.
MMA fighter. No, yeah,
Yeah, exactly right as well. He did his UFC stuff too, right?
yeah,
So again, there's someone like us that has those many different interests, which sort of tick
yeah,
that box in my
absolutely.
head as well. But yeah, he started off just like we are, I suppose, mate. To just go, hey, this is nice,
Let's
I
chat.
like it. And he was chatting to friends, and all of a sudden he's getting, your Elon Musk and your movie stars and all that sort of stuff, and shows you the beautiful possibilities that are out there, right?
Absolutely. He's done extremely well. He sold his
Mm.
podcast to Spotify for God knows how many
Yeah, I know, right? See,
billion
that's
or something. Billion. I don't
goals.
even know what it was.
We'll get there one day, mate.
Yeah,
Don't you
we'll get
worry.
there.
But I was going to ask you because it does remind me of sort of this question I have sometimes of the destination and the journey, right?
Yeah,
And that we
yeah,
have this tendency to go, well, that's the success model. And sometimes I look back and I go, you know what? I'm getting to do this thing, right? And that in itself is an opportunity, and that's something that I can still show up with and enjoy in that moment, right? Rather than saying, oh, but doing it for this reason. And I think there's something to like the ebb and flow of it all,
yeah.
like you
And so
mentioned
just
before, right?
enjoying it for its own sake, just enjoying the
Mm,
journey. Yeah. Like
mm,
I'm not too worried as well. I don't really have any master plans for what the podcast will become. I just enjoy talking to people. So if I can do a couple of episodes a week max, I'd be very happy.
love that.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying learning about the tech, and, playing
Mm.
around with some of the audio and whatever else, and the video, and it's just, I'm just having fun.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah,
absolutely.
it is multifaceted, right? Because people watch
Yes.
this and they go, "Oh, you just chat," and it's like, no,
Yeah, it's
maybe
a
you got
little
to
bit
edit, you got
behind the
to
scenes. Yeah.
plan, you got to sort of roll with the punches in the moment, all that sort of jazz. Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell us a bit more about your podcast, The Word of the Bird.
We're the birds. So we're a little bit younger, I suppose, than your ones, or at least I've got about 23 odd episodes.
Ah,
I think we're up
fantastic.
to
Well
now.
done.
So we're still in early days. I sort of again picked it up for a bit, put it back down for a while I was sort of working with other things in my life, and now lockdown's given me the ability to pick it back up again in the
Yeah.
digital way. And so yeah, it's fairly young, but I've just had a range of people on. I've had people from just different areas of life, I suppose, has been a good thing to focus with me. The first episode, and then a couple of others shortly after were just friends that are in my generation and had a similar sort of upbringing, similar
Perfect.
sort of hindsight, mindset. And one of the earlier ones as well was had my pop on there as well, right? Who's 2 generations older, and
Awesome.
and my neighbor as well, who's even a little bit older than that, and he's sort of sharing his experience through life and sort of
I love it.
getting to see those different slices of the pie,
Yep.
see those different perspectives and how they sort of interact and stuff that they've encountered through it all as well.
Yeah. And that's what I love about podcasting is that you don't have to have a famous person on your show. It's actually even
Mm-hmm.
more fun to
Mm-hmm.
have just your everyday friend, family, colleague connection.
Yep.
And we all learn so much from each other. And, if you have the right platform to expose the gold in people, everybody has a lot to give. And you don't have to be interviewing, prime ministers and presidents and rock stars.
That's exactly right. I mean, yeah, nail on the head. We've all got something to showcase, right? We've all got a story.
Yep.
We've all got a story we can tell. And
Yeah.
I always like that saying, keeping the student mindset, right? Like you can learn something from anyone. and it keeps you on your toes, you know. And then yeah, you sort of get to have these type of chats with people and sort of see on one level, yeah, you know, they might be a bartender or they might be a podcaster or whatever they do, but there's always deeper rungs to that ladder, and you sort of develop that connection as well then, right? Because I know this is our first time meeting, but already from the chat, and we've been chatting for 20 minutes, it's already like, hey, you
Yeah,
know,
like
like
exactly. We're old
Darren,
friends.
man, like exactly right. You know, we're just riffing, like you
Yeah,
say, you know. So it's yeah, it's something nice about developing that connection, man. And again, like what more to do in life than to sort of share it with others and do these things we enjoy. And one of those things that I can tell you enjoy just as much as I do is that, yeah, that chat, like that communication, you know, establishing that bridge between
yeah,
different thoughts and different ways of operating.
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can see the guitar behind you over there. You play a little bit.
I do. Yep. It's I wouldn't say professional, but I'm trying again with one of those things where I'm
Yep.
trying to push the chains further.
Nice, nice,
And
nice.
I do want to eventually do pub gigs and that sort of, yeah, you rock up and do the acoustic set. And it's
Yeah,
just getting the confidence, it's getting the practice, it's building it up to a level where I go, right, let me
yeah,
pull the pin out of the grenade and throw it and block my ears. But yeah, it's something I love about music in that same way as communicating. You're really present with the thing, and if you really sort of just have that singular focus, which for like, so when I chat, that's what I'm thinking of, is like
mhm,
whatever what I'm saying or what you're
yeah.
saying, or
In the
with the
moment.
music is
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
it's kind of like meditation is, right? I mean,
Yes,
I
yes.
like to think I enjoy spirituality to the extent, as well
Me
as
too.
trying to sort of go into those spaces and yeah, to experience that through music as well, even through listening to it sometimes, right? You put a song on and go, wow, everything else just sort of parts way, and that's
So
just
true.
this, yeah, very beautiful
So
moments.
true. And what kind of stuff do you like to play? What kind of music is your jam?
I like my acoustic stuff, you know,
Yeah.
Matchbox 20.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
Matchbox 20.
yeah, they're my go-to, man, because they're easy strumming
Yeah,
styles. You don't have to belt a song. It's a nice
true.
range for me.
And Rob Thomas is a fantastic
He's
songwriter.
brilliant. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Brilliant
Yeah, you have
songwriter.
the feeling behind the words, right? You can
Oh,
tell he sings with passion.
yeah.
Ed Sheeran as well.
Oh, yeah.
Again,
Right.
he's got such a great story too of how he sort of just started busking, and only what, 6 7 years ago I think it was, and then to get to where he is now and have so much raw talent, but also be someone that's so down to earth and
Yep.
looks like a regular dude. You know, he's having beers and just having a chat. It's like that's cool to see that sort of shift in culture. I mean, it's only minute, and I'm sure it's been happening since culture has been around. But when the well trodden path of culture is already looking like a certain way, and then for something to step against that, for me, I've always seen that as very refreshing, no matter what it is. You know, it's sort of like, hey, it's sort of shaking the snow globe up a
That's
little
right.
bit to get everything sort of, again, variety, right? Just sort of mixing things
Yeah.
up, if you will. Yeah, keeps
You
everyone
like
on their
you like
toes.
the you like you challenge conformity.
Yes, I think that's life, right? If you get a bit of both and sort of mix them together, and you can do that well, then geez,
Yeah.
oh, you know,
You're a
you've
modern
you've
day
got it.
rebel, Jaden.
That's it. In some ways,
I
I
love
got
it.
to be careful. Sometimes it gets me into trouble, right? I don't want to let that side of me run the ship, but he's there. He's definitely there.
That's great. I love it. That's cool, man. I can see by your background, like you got so many things going on there. You've obviously got, your fingers in many different hobbies, and you got,
Mm,
different levels of expression, and quite artistic. So, it's great that you're exploring all these different things. Kind of
mm.
leads us back to our topic, variety.
Yeah, that's it.
Variety is a spice of life.
100%. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, it's always the way I've sort of just shown up as, right? You know,
Yeah,
and it
nice.
took, well, I should say it did take a while for me to explore these things, to go,
Mhm.
well, I've tried many different things. I remember a memory that sticks out worth
And to
mentioning
give you,
is
sorry to cut you off, but to give yourself permission to explore all these things,
yeah,
that's
for
a big point.
sure. For sure, for sure. Again, we're all human, and it's not only something that we should do. I mean, we will probably want to do it as well, right? Because again, you're going to find those things that
That's right.
you vibe with. Some people I meet, they're lovely, but podcasting ain't their jam, because they go, oh, I'll be on a camera and talk. It's like, yeah, cool,
Yeah, yeah,
fair enough. But for me, I had to, yeah, go into those areas. And I remember when I moved high school, so I only did the one move, and sort of was as any move at sort of that age, and changing, changing your house, changing school, changing friends.
Oh,
It's quite a big move. And I remember going from group to group in much the same way I do experiences, and hang out with the footy kids. Yeah, they're nice, but they're a bit too rough. It's kind of like Goldilocks, right? And cricket kids, yeah, well, the smart kids and all this. And sort of then I found my sort of just right, by the
yes.
end of it. And it's the same with yeah, all these things or activities, or even the objects themselves, right, that we enjoy, But I think there is something to say, if you don't mind me going on a little bit of a
No, of
tangent, to
course, of
talk
course.
about like an activity or something that you create, or something that sort of energy is used during the process, compared to just an object, say, right? Because I'm someone that can fall under the guise of being a materialist. I do like my things, but it still feels that it feels different sometimes from doing something and enjoying it,
Yep.
from doing it, and then
And
just
creating
having
something
the
from
thing.
scratch, you mean?
Yeah, like there's some sort of, from the effort, there's some sort of, kind of even like pistachios, right? I mean, I love pistachios, but you're working for what you want, right? And something
Too
feels
much work.
better about that, It's like, oh, maybe like I've earned this sort of thing, right? I don't know if that's
Yeah.
cultural or human nature. I don't know, but
I think that's human nature. I think we all
mm,
there's a famous principle, I think, that says we value more what we work for.
mm,
So if
mm,
we work for something, and it's taken us a bit of time to achieve it, we value it more because we've put in the effort.
And
So
there's
there must be something about that.
something about maybe the growth as well. I
Mm.
mean, because there could be something to say that, hey, I've worked towards this thing, and our ego defines us as, then, oh, well, that is something that I've now done, so it
Yep.
becomes an accomplishment, right? And yeah, I know I could say that I used to be someone that probably did that too much then, right? Where I sort of you can let that define you as well, in much the same way that you can let anything define you, really.
True.
But lately, sort of going through, yeah, stepping back and going more into that spiritual side of things, is to say that, nothing we do defines us, nothing we feel or think even. It's just sort of, we are humans having an existence, and to try to
Exactly.
do that from a space of love, which covers that enjoyment, but also covers that consideration for others, and respect for nature, and how fucking amazing. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear. Can I
Yeah,
swear
of
on
course
this?
you
I just
can.
drop a cheeky F. I'm
Of course
sorry,
you
mate.
can. Of course you
I
can.
appreciate that. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, good. Yeah, that nature's so amazing, but so I don't want to say terrifying, but it's awe-inspiring.
Mm.
Like I've been watching a lot of Everest documentaries
Oh
lately, like the
wow, wow,
summit, and
yeah,
it's like, because I watched the movie, right, that Everest
yep.
movie, and sort of went, oh, this is really cool. Like it looks, they got a nice story to tell. Like, I wonder how hard it would really be. And then so I start sort of digging and looking at documentaries, and it's like, this is unbelievable what these people are
What they
achieving,
go through.
essentially,
Yep.
right? And like the level of intensity, especially past that, they call it the death zone, where you're above 8,000 meters and your body is literally starting to die, so you can't stay there. It's like, wow,
And the preparation that goes into it, and the planning, and the oh
yeah,
my god,
yeah,
training. It's a lot
exactly.
of work.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's yeah, and so it's a feat of humanity to do something like that. But then I also look like that as this kind of same way I look at the ocean. It's like, here's this thing that nature essentially is represented by, or it's an arm of it, and it's so able to just pick us up, chew us, and spit us out if it really wants to. You know what I mean? Watching in that movie when the storm comes through, and like seeing how hectic it is, and seeing afterwards, like, yeah, that's real. That
Yeah.
happens, like 100-kilometer winds and freezing temperatures, and people die. It's like, whoa, got to really have respect for this thing, whatever it is. But yeah, it kind of reminds me, because again, a lot of fingers in different pies, as we've already established. I'm learning to surf as well.
Nice.
Started learning this year, and had a very similar experience going out there for the first time. It's the furthest I'd ever been out, and I was with someone that was trained and had a lot of experience. But it was still that moment of, okay, I'm about 2 kilometers from shore. If I had to get back in, geez, like, would I be able to? Yeah, probably. But still, ooh, like, I'm in it now. This is it. If it wants to pick me up, and
Oh god, I'd be
shark or a big
two
wave,
kilometers. I would have been scared shitless.
it was nerve wracking, but it was that moment of like respect, hey, okay, I don't have to fear this thing, because then I'll just go, like, and potentially, miss out on these experiences and this, chance to feel that enjoyment of doing the thing that's hard to do, right? But also saying, well, hold on, this isn't something that I should just walk into with my eyes closed. It's like, respect where respect's due. This is a very powerful thing you're engaging with right now, and don't ever think you're more powerful than it, because you'll find out the hard way then, right? And
That's right.
so such is life, right? Such is
Yep.
life.
So true, man. So
Mm.
true. Oh, fantastic. And so tell us a bit about where we can find your podcast and where we can find out more about you.
Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. So most of my stuff, if not, I think nearly all of my stuff, besides I do little TikTok shorts sometimes. I'm on TikTok as well,
Ah,
but
nice.
mostly off Facebook and YouTube,
Yep.
which is, if you just search Word of the Bird, all one word, you'll find them both on there. Again, I've got the TikTok as well. If you give that a search, you'll see my little logo. I don't know if I've got one in yeah, I got a little one. Oh, hold on, no, I can't sort of see it up there. There it is. There it
There
is.
is it there. Ah, the
Little
little.
like a little bird sort of
I can
looking
see
thing.
it. Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can see it.
So
Nice.
yeah, but yeah, on
Word of the
Facebook,
bird.
on YouTube, TikTok as well, mate. Yeah, and sort of I spread myself. I try to keep everything sort of posting the same stuff across. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But yeah, sometimes I just put one on there and miss here. It's kind of
Oh, it's part of
yeah.
the
Do it
process.
as you go.
You
Yeah.
like? Do you like social media? You're getting right into the world of social media.
I I am and I'm not, mate. I like it for the reasons that I can have that platform
Yeah.
to be
The
able to do things
exposure.
like this and speak to. But I've also noticed that with this pandemic and all these things are going on, it's very easily it's very easy, sorry, to become divisive. It's very easy to become sort of, well, they've got this opinion, I've got my opinion, and we're separated from that. And because everyone seems to be doing that, including
Yeah.
major institutions on mainstream media, it's kind of like, well, there's this air of division, and I don't like to see that, but I get caught up in it as well, right? My ego kicks in too, to go like, hey, but this isn't right, I've got to do something here, I've got a freedom fight. It's like, just pull back, man. It's all good. So I'm sort of in that process of, I think, stepping back from having like that idea of having Facebook, you know what I mean, where I'd still have it in for Word of the Bird, and still I'm going to start doing like a weekly catch up with people that want to come
Nice.
in, like a Zoom call, have a chat, listen to me for 10 minutes about, hey, I did this week and this was really cool, maybe you guys like it too. And then they can sort of put their hand up and go, well, that's really nice, what about this? And we meditate for a bit. And so I'm still like connecting with people, which will be nice, but I'm sort of stepping back from social media in that yeah, it sort of feels like I'm getting caught up in its cogs when
Yeah.
I
Not
go
letting
into
not
that
letting it
space.
drag you into areas that
Yeah,
you not necessarily
yeah.
want to go.
It's a tool, right? And
Yep.
I want to be aware of how I'm going to use this tool, rather than just letting it sort of, because I can get hooked into like a scroll as well, when again
Definitely.
your ego takes over and sort of going, well, I've got to find someone to share my opinion with, because
Yeah.
it's the most important thing, right? It's like, nah, come on, man, like just
Yeah.
take a
So
step back.
true.
Yeah, but
So true.
I appreciate it for the fact that connection is so prevalent now too, but right, like I can chat to you from 50 kilometers away. I've got friends that I catch up with once a week that live in Canada. So
Wow.
that's like, across the other side of the world, right? Yeah. So I have this benefit to be able to communicate, and that comes with social media, right? And technology as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And the fact that we all have a place to share our thoughts and opinions, whether they're, excuse me, objectively right or wrong, it's kind of like we still get to do that, and that's freedom of speech, which is important for everyone. And it's not to promote hate speech or anything. Anyone can sort of go down that path too, but it's how you learn too, right? Like I know I had to learn what not to do. Sometimes that's doing the thing not to do before you learn what to do, right? And so in that same way, it gives an ability for people to learn almost, right, if they choose to, because you
True.
can
I agree.
make it an echo chamber as well, and go, well, I'm blocking everyone that doesn't agree with me about footy being the best sport in the world. It's like, you're only going to see things about footy being the best sport in the world, so it'll kind of
That's right.
confirm that bias, but the world will take care of that anyway in itself. So
Yep. I agree. I think social media is an incredible platform, and it's just how you use it and how and how you want to spend your time. I think it's just important to audit what you're doing, but
mm.
to use as a tool in the right way is just one of the best methods or mechanisms we have.
Well, so it's
Absolutely.
just, it's again, it's that balance, right?
Yep.
Because like you can be using it for that productive means is to say, well, hey, I'm not scrolling videos and watching cats fall off the roof. I'm doing my business, right? I'm making, I'm shaking, and I'm networking. It's kind of like, well, that's great, but why do you go into that? Is it the ego speaking, or is it enjoyment? If it's enjoyment, hey, knock it out of the park. But if you're forcing yourself, or you feel like you have no control to do this thing, it's like, no, I have to. It's like, whoa, just maybe take a step back and have a couple of deep breaths and realize it's all just a juggling act.
Yep, very wise words, man. Very wise words.
I have a few sometimes, mate. I surprise myself sometimes. I just keep talking, and sometimes it works out fine.
Well done, man. But really appreciate you coming on the show. I think it's been so much fun. And everybody out there, please check out Jaydon's podcast and all his other channels. And I'm going to make sure that I put them in the notes for everybody. And of course, listen to his fantastic podcast, The Word of the Bird. But before we finish up, Jaydon, I always like to ask my guests to just leave us with a thought. What's on your mind at the moment? What do you think can help people?
I think accept where you are and know that there's nowhere that you truly have to be. That if you want to be somewhere, you can go towards that, and you can do nearly anything in some certain ways. But yeah, you've got to start from somewhere, right? And we're all starting from places of mishaps. Yeah, we're starting at some point on the starting line, right? And someone might be ahead of you, someone might be behind you. But I think to say, well, accepting that and learning to love that, but also realizing that we can show up in whichever way we want to, right? And so we have a lot of power to shape how our life ends up. So remember that.
Right. Remember that. I love it. Great.
Yeah. But I appreciate having me on as well, Darren, and just to say that I'll have to get you back over for dinner as well.
You bet.
And yeah, for sure, and show you to all my lovely viewers. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Really enjoyed it.
You bet. Jaydon, thank you so much again for coming on the show. Everyone out there, hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And we'll see you very, very soon for our next episode. Stay tuned. Bye for now.